pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this is normally the part of the meeting that we, if you're not on the agenda, you have anything you want to talk about, bring up, or discuss, we can't do any action on it, but we can take it under advisement and look at it at our next regular meeting. So, has anybody got anything that's not on the agenda? All right, moving right along. Mr. Tuttle, Boatman Road drainage. I know you were here our last meeting and then went on to the drainage board. Was there any solution remedied at that board?
Well, we're here to talk about that, and I do thank the commissioners for the support and their guidance. I think Commissioner Jones went through with me talking to George Severin. But Mr. Severin was adamant that no drainage would be changed on his property. And he feels, I think I read right, that he feels that the flooding on Bowman Road is minuscule compared to what flooding is over on Moonglow Road and down towards Zoe Church Road and Ox Creek bottoms. And he said the only way he would support any activity on his property at all, with being drainage, would be first, because that's in a Wilson Family Trust. He only had 4 acres there to get their blessing. He would have to give his own blessing, but he would not do so until the entire project was brought up pretty much before the Army Corps of Engineers and drainage improved to the Ox Creek bottoms, to Bowman Road, and pretty much where it drains down into the Muscatatuck. And Randy, you were there. If I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. And Randy just immediately said, this is way, way bigger than the nature and scope of what we can do out of our budget. This is now probably a dead issue. So trying to, I'm just giving you guys feedback on what was thought to be addressed. I'm glad I came out because all the neighbors are here. So I do think that part of it's over. He did, however, and I said this 3 years ago.
Is this the guy that lives in your parents' own home?
No,
this is across the street.
This is the granddaughter
Where the trailer is.
of where Dilbert Wilson lived.
Okay, I know where you're talking about.
That's right across from Danny Wilson.
Yeah.
Right across from where the lake is going to live.
Okay, I know where you're
And
talking about.
they're upset. They had their driveway washout a few years ago. It cost them $25,000 or $30,000 out of pocket. If you go out there and look at them, there's cattails on 3 sides of them. They've got a drainage problem. They expressed it. There's some property that Wilson that can't be farmed because of drainage. Some parts of the Wilson farm they have to put late to drainage and they get lower yields. They're very, very sensitive about flooding.
So is this on the north side of Moonglow, or is this on the south side?
This,
I know
George
Denny's
is
on
definitely
the
live on the
north.
south. This would go to the north back behind where
Moonglow.
Denny lives, where his,
Back on Moonglow, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Moonglow.
Yeah, it's on
He's
Moonglow,
talking
yes.
about.
so that portion of it is probably a dead issue. I really thought for the first time in 10 or 12 years I've been fussing about drainage and trying to get it improved for everybody. We finally had a shot. I completely understand George's feelings. I went back a week later and said, George, please, will you reconsider? At least let's go to the drainage board and see what they can do for us. Well, this time he was more adamant.
Got time to think about it, huh?
Yeah, he's probably a little more sensitive than Rob, but he said, don't come back and talk anymore about drainage unless we're prepared to approve everybody's. He said, I come back, sit in the porch and talk to him. He said, don't come back and talk drainage. So I am saying that. But in thinking of the course last week, who do I talk to about maybe having an outside independent study done of the drainage from now the Shipman Farm property, the Lloyd Jones property, down to Bowman and Moonglow heading west? Does that fall within the commissioners, or does that fall within the drainage board?
I'd say it's a drainage board question, wouldn't that be?
See, the problem with the drainage board, I think, is this is not a legal drain issue. I mean, we have two legal drains in the county, which is Redmond and Cozart ditches, and they're up north along leads in the Quick Creek to Muscatatuck and whatnot. So, drainage board's primarily concerned with developments of property, so if somebody's building something and it's creating more surface runoff, if they've got the right, retention ponds and drainage situations gonna drain the right way and not create a water issue on their neighbors.
Right.
I think you're looking at something that's probably largely due to natural circumstances, right? And not anything the county has
Done.
built or done, or there's no new development out there. So I think that's, if, correct me, Randy, you're on the board. If that's the way, yeah.
But what happens when there's a county drain on county road right away that drains onto private property? That floods people. There's gotta be a resolution somewhere.
So is the road the root cause of the drainage problem? I mean, is the road the problem that
No,
creates the water? See,
no.
that's the I think
No,
we're
that's the problem.
I mean, no, it channels down through alongside.
it just becomes a conduit,
Yeah.
right?
And it just turns, maybe, what, 50-plus road, it turns into a huge marsh area where water can't get away.
So that's just in keeping with what I think the drainage boards were formed for statutorily. And I don't, when it comes to natural, and unfortunately, there's places that's not real good about draining.
So what is it that you're asking for? And I know you're wanting the water away from your property, but,
I asked.
and so's the other neighbors, I
Yes,
mean.
and I asked if outside independent surveyor study of the water drainage, does that fall, because it's right there along the county roadway, does that fall to the commissioners to help maybe look at an outside study, or does that fall back to the drainage board?
Well, I'm gonna write some notes down, I'm gonna reach out to some people and see what an avenue would be for us to do something different, so.
What's been
I don't-
done
I don't
is
know,
not
I don't know
helpful.
what the answer is, cause, just like, there's a lot of issues, on other roads, I mean, hill slab roads.
And I understand that, you're right.
Floods and
I think,
whenever we get a substantial amount of rain, everything is going to, as well as I do. But as far as a normal rain and you have something like that, then that's, and I think that's some of what you've been talking about, is that everything is running north until it can't run over the hill.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it gets trapped. I mean, basically, we're almost talking about flood zone.
I think Williams probably get it pretty bad, living in that little tray where it floods there, probably pretty bad.
Well,
They got a little ditch right beside it, but apparently just flows right on back down the road.
so you're wanting an independent study to see if we can do an independent study to
Yes.
see if there's a way to relieve the water from that area.
It would help everybody.
For the benefit.
Well, it would be probably 4 or 5 neighbors or more on
It'd
the
be 80
east
to 10
side.
probably, yeah.
And probably, and then it goes down to Denny and those guys.
Yes.
So it'd be several. But like I said, I'd have to ask questions, because at this point, I don't know where we need to look at, so.
It seems to be more, I'm not gonna get involved in whether or not you can or can't do anything, or what your kind of decision is policy-wise, but, again, it seems to be water flow affecting private properties. That's not really a commissioner's role in terms of the statutory issues that you guys are permitted to deal with. So if there's an independent study, that would not be something that would come out of a county budget. That's going to be a decision by a private landowner to pay and support.
And I guess my next question is, when that ditch was cut on my old property, going through my own property, why was I notified of that? I guess because
I wasn't a commissioner.
John's area, I'm directing that question to John. I mean, I feel like I was blindsided or sacrificed to that. And we all know that the blockage is downstream of everybody, but yet that was done, and I had a big mess on my property. It didn't improve flooding on property that we own on the other side of the road either.
You asking me?
Yes.
Oh, because the homeowner wanted it done, and I didn't think that was any different when you did your ditch out front, didn't notify anybody.
I didn't do, I did
Your
my.
ditch out in front of your place. You came to us, and we told you, we'd be glad to work with you, but we haven't got, we gotta have plans for this stuff. We were worried about drainage. We had Civilcom come in and do the drainage flow and all that. I wasn't against what you did, but you didn't do that to us. You just did it. Now, I don't know if you notified the neighbors back there or not.
I didn't touch that ditch, John, I stayed clear
Who
of that
did?
ditch. I didn't touch that ditch.
Who did it?
All I did do, that ditch was.
Who paid for it, Artie?
That ditch was washed out, it was 1 foot wide and 4 foot deep. All I did was on one side driveway, pull the dirt away. I didn't touch that ditch. That's why my mailbox is 50 foot down the road from my driveway, and the south side is still the way it was.
Artie, I'm
John,
not,
go ahead
I'm
and
not
take a look
against
at
you,
it.
but we did not authorize it.
I didn't touch the ditch. Go look at the south side of the driveway.
I drove by right after it was done.
I don't want you to look at it, you should stop talking to
There
me.
were
I
people
didn't
out
touch
in your
that
yard
ditch.
working. Artie, I don't mean to argue, but you were asking me why I did what I did, and you didn't notify anybody, nobody was notified of that.
I did not touch that ditch.
Somebody did.
I still have
They did it without authorization from the county.
I pulled 4 foot of dirt away from it so everything could drain. And what was the difference on that thing being 1 foot wide and 4 foot deep, or being 4 foot wide?
You
It makes
asked
no
me, and
difference.
that's my answer, Artie.
Well, that's a political answer.
That's the truth.
That's
That's
political
also
answer.
the truth, Artie.
Well, shame on you, John.
Well, shame on you, Artie.
No.
Shame on you. It's the truth.
No.
Yes, it is.
All right, well, let's, I'm gonna do what I told you I was gonna do. I'm gonna talk to some other people. and
Thank
see
you.
if
I
can-
appreciate
And
it.
I don't know that I can get you an answer, yeah, or an
I
answer,
appreciate that.
or an answer that's gonna satisfy you, or any of the other neighbors out there. But I do know that I've drove down that road when it rains, and it's not a good situation. But
Based on the response from the county, for the course last few years, you can tell me to fly a kite, but I think you give me a good fair shot. That's all I've ever asked for. I do appreciate
All right.
that, you and Randy both.
Well, if we can help you, we'll try to help you, but I don't know what the answer is, and I know Kevin's looked at it, and multiple people's looked at it.
Kevin's been good as gold.
But,
I
we'll see what the other avenue is, and I'll get back with you.
And if I do turn along over on that ditch, because it's all washed out, I'll come back and see you, John.
Do what?
If I would turn
Okay,
along
so
over that ditch, I'll come back and see
okay,
you.
now we've entered into basically
I'm sorry, I'm
a
sorry.
threat
No,
of
I'm not,
litigation.
No, not at all.
I'm gonna tell you guys, as my client, we're done with this discussion, and we're not answering any questions at this point.
Understand.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Artie.
Good deal. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you guys for your consideration, appreciate it.
Here's your thing. All right, second reading of the ordinance number 2022-006, designating a four-way stop at Cutshaw and Slab. Randy?
I did not get any more signatures down, but I've had people tell me that they actually want it. I've been too busy to, not having paper on me at the time, or the same thing, but basically everybody to the east side of Slab Road there's a few out there who doesn't want it. There's a couple. Actually, there's one, I think, that's actually the east side who doesn't want it, but everybody else is wanting it. And I just want to say again that line of sight will help. It will not fix the problem because the problem's on somebody else's property. You cannot maintain what somebody else does on their property. And I recognize the fact that there's people saying that if we put a stop sign there, it's going to cause accidents, or it did cause accidents. That's a possibility. But stop signs work all over the United States, everywhere, and in this county. So I don't recognize that as being a viable answer, that we cannot put one up and it won't work here. It's not like it's a geological oddity. So I'm still wanting a four-way stop. And honestly, I really think we probably need one at Marshfield and Slab also. But I'll be moving on that one later.
John?
Now, I've talked to several people too, and had a lot of people actually text or whatnot, me a different message. I don't know, I'm getting different information.
Well, again, I went back out there again and as I said before, I talked to or I didn't talk, I actually pulled the GIS maps to know who lives in the homes that are on the east side of Slab that have some shrubs and some stuff that are actually blocking the line of sight. And I understand the back and forth with stop signs and other areas, but I don't know that's the cure-all. So I'd rather address the line of sight first, and then once you can see down the roadway, then maybe if something determines that at that point you can see, you know, farther down the road and you're still having accidents, then to readdress it and to put a stop sign at that point. But I just don't see the stop signs, you know, being the cure-all. So
Yeah, and I'd rather
my
try
thought.
whatever, I'm like you, I'd rather try whatever options we got ahead of time. Maybe somewhere down the road that might be the answer, but I think I'd like to try other options.
Well, I've had people have conversations with me about when there was a stop sign there before, what happened, and then, you know, these people lived there all their lives, so. And then other people that travel through there have been calling me and texting me and Facebook messaging me, so. Okay, well, this is the last reading of it, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept the ordinance of 2024-006, designating a stop sign at the intersection of Cutshaw Road and Slab Road, so.
I'll make a motion to pass it.
Randy makes a motion to pass the ordinance, placing a stop sign at Cutshaw and Slab. Do I hear a second? All right, well, I guess with that, we don't get a second, so it doesn't move on from here, so. Again, I'm not against, the thought of it. I think we need to do something before we go to the stop sign, so that's where I'm at on it. All right, moving along. Traffic regulation ordinance 2022-007 for Indot Highway 31 closure.
There you go.
Is that, Tammy, what is this?
Based upon a previous ordinance that was passed when we had a Indot road project, after talking and confirmed with Zach, because whenever the sheriff started looking into policing the semi-tractor traffic on the roads that were only detours for local traffic only, he realized that ordinance was specific to a situation, and then I called Zach. Of course, it carries a $1,000 fine for semis that don't have a destination or there for a purpose, they're just traveling through. So Zach said for each Indot project that you feel like you could have that problem with semi-tractor trailer traffic or large commercial vehicles along the only local detours, unofficial county detours for Indot projects, that you would need specific ordinances for that project's time frame, and then that would expire. Then there couldn't be tickets written after that for that area once that Indot project is over, because then it's no longer an unofficial detour.
Okay.
Unofficial, not unofficial.
I know, because I've asked Kevin if he placed them, and he said he didn't, but when they were doing the 256 project, there's several, I don't know if Jack Morgan's got it, but I know Boatman, or not Boatman, but Bogart's has it. they have a sign out there that says no semis allowed. And I asked Kevin, I said, who put that sign out there? And he goes, I didn't put it out there. So, it really doesn't, I mean, if that ordinance has expired, then we probably need to pull the signs. And we probably save ourselves $1 or $2 by moving them wherever we need them now, so.
I'm just thinking, we can probably get some signs out of our trucking fund if we want to pay. I know you say you don't have any money. We might be able, if we need to buy some, get some out of that trucking fund behind the health department.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many you need. We're talking 5 or 6 right here. But I'm okay with that. I don't know what you guys thinking. There's just no money left in that, is there?
No, but we do have a few, semi-signs.
Yeah.
Well, I know, like I said, I know where a couple are, so.
Yeah, we can use them, but there's a few in the trailer.
Because those aren't even, I mean, yeah, they may deter somebody, but there's no backbone to them.
Those are a little brighter.
Huh?
Those are a little more elaborate than what the ones we have in the trailer. They're just kind of those semis.
I'm fine with that. I mean, Randy, you guys comment?
So this is just a draft too on the roads you guys might want to tweak. I know you had 2 roads. It was Radio Tower to Underwood as the unofficial detour for the Pigeon Roost, but then there could be other roads that might be tempting to take that
Well,
are straight shot.
That's kind of my question, is that we don't have enough information about like the roads specifically where we'd be worried about, I think specifically semi-tractor trailers, large trucks moving through there more often because of the other road construction. So are the roads that are listed on this template, are those the roads that we're talking about and only those roads? Or-
Radio Tower and Underwood are the 2 that the commissioners approved at the last meeting for the unofficial local traffic detours for the Pigeon Roost Creek project. But other roads that could possibly be an issue that are straight shots into and around to get hooked back up to 65 or to go to Scottsburg would be Lake Boatman and Moonglow.
So Indot signs state roads for their detours. So any of these roads that we're talking about are unofficial and they're not marked as detours.
I understand that. It's more just the traffic flow issue. More trucks are gonna be looking to go through local routes, right? If they can. It causes congestion, dangerous situations. But looking at the prior ordinance, I didn't feel comfortable that there was some type of like delegation of authority from the commissioners for somebody from the highway department, right, to just erect signs on roads, and then start imposing fines based on their kind of discretionary view of where the sign should be. So I think you guys should specifically delineate based on what Kevin's, expertise would be in this situation, which roads you want the signs to go on, so that it's, we prohibit, the type of traffic congestion we're talking about, but also, we don't impose a fine against a trucker who doesn't have like prior notice of an approved ordinance that fixes a pretty hefty fine.
Well, we met with, while Kevin was playing around in California, we met with the Indot out in,
So you're under the bus, buddy, out there.
out on the site out there. They're going to try to put more signage south all the way to Memphis and somewhere. They even talked about Sellersburg putting signage out there saying that no truck traffic, you need to stay on major highways. And Kevin being an ex-state worker, I mean, or an employee, I mean, he's told us before that state will never detour to a county road. It's always state to another state road. So I will say that there isn't a detour sign to 3. So, because there is one for 203, but there's not one for the 31 deal. So, because we were talking about if there was an accident on 65, how are we going to get the traffic away from here? And they talked about going to 56 to 3, take them through Charleston to 62, and then back on the interstate. there's plenty of other highways they could go off if they wanted to, but the other way was, they went west, they would go to Salem and then 135 to 265, so. So anyway, we talked about more signage and stuff for them. Jeff Fortner's not here, but he talked about bringing his 2 portable signs if we have an accident on 65, that we would probably put those close to the interstate, or one of them close to the interstate, directing traffic, not even to turn south on 31, so we would just pretty much keep them going the other way. But so as far as county roads, you're only talking, I mean, if you're coming north on 31 and you pass the county line, you only have 2 options. As a matter of fact, I just came through there the other day thinking I could get all the way to Radio Tower Road before I saw a roadblock, but the roadblock's at the county line. And you have to drive around the roadblock to get to Radio Tower Road. Cause they're treating that as a detour right off the bat, so there's not a semi that's gonna make that jog in between those barricades. So, which I thought they would let at least traffic come to Radio Tower Road, but, so, if there's a semi, he's gonna be stopping at County Line Road, so.
Could, we pass these roads tonight if we agree? And then add more to it if we think there's some other roads? I can see County Line Road being on that.
I believe because it's
Yeah,
a fine.
now,
Huh?
it's not on there, County Line Road.
No,
That's
no,
what-
I'm just saying, could we do this and then?
I don't,
And the blue is what will change
Well, I
every
did-
time there's a
and
problem.
again, I didn't know there was a problem or an issue with that until I drove on it, and I'm like, they're not even letting you get to Radio Tower Road.
What I get is, and Radio Tower particularly, is people call me and then a deputy will be out there and they say, we can't do anything unless we have an ordinance, which
I
they
get
can't,
that.
that's true.
I get
And
that.
I didn't know if we could just do this and then do more later if we went. If we didn't want to, I think I would.
I wanna do it, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get that
what
mowed.
do you need for signs?
I'll have to check into it. We probably dig around and find those semi signs, you know, as far as that goes. I'm kinda like Mike, I mean, they'll run over those barricades, there'll be truckers that will, and they'll come down Radio Tower.
No, they wouldn't
It's
do
a
that.
bump if it's just wind, so if you wanna put it in place, I mean, we should, I have to count on it, that I found some stuck away between 2 rails back there, that it says no semi, you know.
Refresh my memory, I know, we was going to, work with the state and see about getting some signs and stuff, where we at with that.
You mean as far as road signs?
Yeah.
Well, we would have to, we will order our signs. We talked about making them, talked about getting set up to make them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's a pretty good cost to start it up, and then you got your labor issue. I mean, I think it'd be a good winter time, you know, probably for guys, but I think, it looks like your initial start was $10,000, which, you know, so
can
pretty
we,
good.
can we,
Pretty good hunk of money, time to get the printer and the software.
And you know how much money you have in your sign?
Then you gotta buy the stock, you know, I know, and the paper, I haven't dug into it that deep. We didn't do it that deep.
Tammy, do you happen, you probably don't have this information offhand, I'm sure, but you happen to have any idea how much money you have in that?
In that rental proceeds,
Yeah.
in the rental proceeds fund. I wanna say that we had about, I can pull it real fast. I can pull it, I can get that information. At one point in time when we did the EMS vehicles, I
took
think
15 out of
we had
it?
about
Yeah,
30, and then we took
15.
20 after the
Yeah.
price went up on the 22 Durango.
Yeah.
So then we took 20 out, so I'd say we're back, and we've collected since then. I'll get you an update real quick, if you guys can bear with me.
If we had some signs that, like you said, that they just say no semis, I mean, and I know this is primitive, but I mean, is there any way we can have a sticker put on it or something that says $1,000 fine or whatever, just cause it says no semis, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could probably get that made locally.
Just
cheap.
temporary, cause I mean, it's only gotta last till Thanksgiving, cause it'll be back open.
Well, and we're talking about this in terms of having something like this, if you guys want to do this.
Yeah.
For, 'cause there's a number of projects that will
Sure.
be, right, and that the ordinance is expired at the end of the construction period for, Indot. So each different,
Yeah,
like, project, right, would have its own through routes and things like that, so we would have a different ordinance, different set of signs, potentially you could reuse the sign, I guess.
that's where I'm getting
Yeah.
at, but right now, this
Pull 'em back
particular,
up underneath
this
the
particular
project.
job, I mean, we probably,
I think
we probably couldn't even
we
get
can
it.
manage that with what we got. and then
I think we need something also, like the state does, as local traffic, and the reason I'm saying that is that when you block off all semi-traffic, we have farmers out here have semi-trucks.
Oh,
And
Well,
we
I
have,
think there's a specific exception for local, this deals with.
in our ordinance, there'll be some exception for that.
There wasn't, I was actually looking for that, I didn't see it in here, but I believe that there is a specific exception.
Well, that would almost be local traffic, though. It could be, a farmer could be construed as a local traffic, I mean,
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
so
that's
it
kinda what
would
I-
be commercial through traffic, but.
So anyway, I think we're needing an ordinance and local traffic only, and then whatever our attorney thinks we need to do. I'm like Randy there on that one. There probably won't be no rest on that.
you said it very
No,
well.
I didn't, I'm sure it's on there.
I don't have a problem starting this tonight or finishing it tonight. I mean, and if we need to add something
We
to
would
it.
need, we would need to advertise it, just because it has a fine in there, so,
So that's 2 weeks.
yes.
Okay, well, while she's waiting for that, let's go ahead and move along. I mean, we'll just say we're going to advertise for this ordinance.
Yeah.
And,
Move to vote on.
Yeah, well, all right.
Need a motion?
I'll entertain a motion to accept the Scott County ordinance or to advertise for the ordinance 2022-007. It's an ordinance regulating commercial traffic on US 31 detours during the Indot Pigeon Roost Bridge Replacement Project. So I'll entertain a motion to,
We change that to commercial semi-traffic, because if you say commercial traffic, somebody's gonna misconstrue that as UPS, FedEx.
okay,
You're just talking about
the ordinance definition.
that's just the title of the ordinance, the ordinance is specific to.
It does say.
The operation of through traffic consisting of commercial vehicles, commercial combination vehicles, maximum length semi-tractors, side drivers, or said vehicles.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to pass.
John, or Randy makes a motion to pass the ordinance, so that we can, on the first reading, so that we can get it advertised. John?
I'll second that motion.
John seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so can you get that, can you rewrite a little bit and add,
Tell me the roads,
add County
yes.
Line Road to it?
And how about, is Salem Road a problem?
Well, technically,
Is that,
Bloomington Trail Road's probably gonna fall in there, cause if they go down County Line, they can get to Bloomington Trail.
do you guys wanna
Yeah.
talk with Kevin and get your list and I'll update this before it's advertised?
Cause
You
you're gonna
guys-
hit Lake
is that
and
a good idea?
Boatman. If you go east, or if you go west, you're gonna hit Boatman.
But you just want to put the signs up.
That's correct.
Highway, though.
When
I would
they,
say- I would
right
say-
off the highway, you don't have to
Once
put
they're
them
in there,
anywhere
they're in
else.
there.
Consistent with the recommendations of the highway department.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do we need to give him authorization to use our funds?
If that's what needs to be,
I
yeah.
mean, it sounds like it would be.
Well, how much?
We have almost $13,000 in that fund. And that is receipted through July.
I mean, we could put a limit on it.
Karen, could you get back to us on whether or not you think that the making of the signs ourselves is gonna work out, and be cheaper for us in the long run? Because, I mean, in my opinion, you know, signs is an ongoing thing. If we can give him and I'm just using this as a number, that he used $10,000 to go ahead and start making signs and get us out of the situation of signs, period.
And you have to advertise for the addition. This hasn't been appropriated for that purpose, so. it's gonna
Then I would
take us-
be interested in doing that.
Well, he's gonna, I'd like to, I mean, I'll entertain the project to see what it costs. And if the cost outweighs,
Yeah.
because
Give us feedback.
don't we have a 50-50 with the state now, or how's that is it 70-30 or what?
Now that, yeah, I think
On that
that's the
sign.
sign inventory thing. I think that's
Oh,
actual
yeah,
road
that'd
signs.
be totally different. This would be 100% our,
I know that,
the
but
foot
I'm,
our deal. Now, we could get like, on a state contract, probably to get our material, where we get, better cut, but all the, majority of the cost will be county level, won't be a split.
no, but what I'm saying is, our
Oh,
sign
you mean
replacement
now?
now
Yeah.
is like a 70-30 split, isn't it?
Well, no, like the HWC, the sign replacements that we're doing is federal, it's like 90/10. But that's.
We
kind
pay
of
10,
separate,
they pay
yeah.
90.
But that's a whole separate deal. If like yearly, no, there's not a split. It's our cost, which is considerable amount, really.
I'm sorry, I see what Mike's saying though, about if he cuts the connections off at 31, that would be either south or north of this, then that would pretty much tell them at that point, there's no way to hook up, right? So I guess that's probably where you guys are going with what roads you'll notice at the 31 intersection, right?
Yeah, you can't get past, the semi couldn't make that jog around that barricade. I mean, he can run over it, but he can't get around it. I mean, so he's gonna have to turn left or right or turn around, so.
Or,
And I know Boatman on the north side, the city's got it noticed, no semis, $1,000 fine.
I've already-
On the I-65, 256 hookup at Boatman, the city hasn't noticed that way.
and I've already had calls on 100 with semis.
We're gonna have a couple of weeks here, let's get the information, what Randy's talking about with making your signs and see what that cost is. And I guess I would have to know, how many signs do you replace in a year or every year? I mean, is it a bunch, is it not?
Well,
I know everybody's got
depends on
one.
what road, obviously.
I know everybody's got one in their garage hanging up, so I mean,
There's a lot.
Is this
Austin
thing-
police dropped the cut shop.
Is this thing we-
Off the other day they found.
Is this thing we just voted on last month for $6,500, and then the state gives us,
That's your actual road labeling signs, correct?
Yeah, but I mean,
Road
that's-
identifiers.
That's
will they give you they'll replace
And your
those,
stop
and they'll
signs.
give you a message how many they've had to replace? I've never seen them people out there. I suppose they are, but
Well, they ain't been out there on that side of the county yet, but, I'll get with them and see what.
I'm
the
just
county
curious.
says.
I don't think, I've never seen a report from them.
yeah, I'd be curious how many signs we have to replace
Yearly?
on a year.
I don't have a good estimate on that, of course. We'd have to keep track of it for a year
Yeah,
and see. Well, I say that, I can probably dig into that.
probably see your budget, and see how
Yeah,
many you
and do
bought.
better than that. So, yeah, let me look at it.
Be curious. All right, so we're gonna add County Line Road onto this ordinance. Randy, you got anything else you wanna add to it? I think that,
I would say
because
Lake
I know-
Road was, that will actually be in the city for a distance for it to actually be, we'll be able to cut it off probably there, Lake and Lake, where we would come into it.
yeah,
So hopefully the city may put something up about it.
okay. What else? Anything else on that? You're gonna advertise it, so that,
Yes. and-
So I was wrong, there's not something in there specific to tractors, but it says specifically if you're not, going to or coming from a point of pickup along these routes, right? So if, like the UPS driver comes in,
Yeah.
if he's dropping something, that's not what this ordinance is prohibiting. This is somebody driving through Scott County.
yeah. Well, these farmers, they have, and grain haulers and everything else, so they're picking up, so they'll be safe on that. All right, moving on. Highway Department.
First off, USI Derek Tuttle, he brought you all the new bridge inspection books, so I'll let him hand them to you. Sure if he wants to dive into it a little bit.
Well, last time they put it on a floppy.
It's got a thumb drive in there too, I think.
Oh, there you.
I think it's in one of them.
Yeah, one of them, okay, I got
We
the
can
thumb
get you
drive.
that if you wish.
Nah,
He
it's-
probably looked who you're dealing with. And
It's there in his book.
I got it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think I gave you mine last time, didn't I?
We were able to go through and inspect all the bridges, and this is the first go-around with that through the main thing. So we wanted to at least come out and make sure that you guys had that information. What we found was 14 bridges that are in need of replacement, and you guys are already working on 3 of them, so we're starting to whittle down that list. Working with Kevin already on a kind of a grand plan of what it's gonna cost and how that's gonna work out. Kind of getting a plan together how we can better help that. So there's 14 on that list with 3 of them in the process and 1 to be rehabbed. So you're doing a really good job of getting that portion of it done. So now the next step is just to see how we can work that process to get all your bridges where we don't have weight limits and the ones that need to be replaced. So if there's any questions after you read through that, please feel free to contact me or Kevin. I'll be more than happy to walk you through it. So,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Appreciate it. It's always good reading material.
First on my list, I just got this email before I left. The 308 cat down at Boyd Cat getting repaired, the one that caught on fire.
Yeah.
So Cat wants to do a full motor replacement on it. So I'm going in between Cat and the insurance company, which doesn't necessarily agree with that yet. So we'll see how that goes down. Cat claims that those motors are throwaway motors. So once there's debris down inside the turbo and in the manifolds, that once they break the seal on that motor, it kind of voids warranties. So they want to order a complete replacement motor and put down in it.
And the insurance is saying no?
Well, they're requesting pictures of more proof.
Okay.
So probably in reality of it, they'll probably go with it because if they put that back in and it does suck some kind of debris out of that engine, then they're starting over. So I'm going to assume the insurance company's going to go for it.
So you're
which is-
thinking a complete replacement?
They're going to put a new crate motor in it, and then of course all new wiring harnesses. They pulled, the first thing they did was pull the whole engine out. It burnt really good. It got hot. It burned really good back there. So I think they're going to do a good job. They got a list of replacing everything. So,
This isn't a rebuilt crate, this is a new motor?
new motor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they worded it. New motor. So it comes from Cat, the factory. According to them, they put them together in a controlled environment, and clean environment, all that. So for what it's worth. Quick update on Reed Road Bridge. It's due to get surveyed on 8/8, the week of 8/8. So that's kind of where it stands right now.
8.8?
Yeah. Getty Road, their geotech's gonna come out and do their borings on the week of 8/8. So that's the progress on them 2 bridges right now. And then of course 105, we've sent, I don't know if I told you that, but all the utility has been requested to get moved and all that.
5 is Main Street?
Yeah, Main Street. So we're on schedule with that too. I guess the next
I
is
saw they cut some trees back.
yeah. So they're gonna move those poles out, and Lytle's kinda like out in his field, 2 poles back to get the swing radius for the cranes and stuff, bring the beams in.
So we got approval from the area farmers out there?
Yeah, we requested it from Duke, or was it Duke? Yeah, it was Duke through there. And then their right-of-way people kinda handle it from there once they
Okay.
take it over. So, there's some permissions we'll have to get from the landowners, but
But that's moving along,
it's moving along, yeah, it's going good. So it's on target.
okay.
I guess the next thing is, we talked about the mowing contract, so we can just kind of compare apples to apples on equipment. And, so it looks like we got 2 of them in.
So let me ask you before you open those about equipment.
Okay.
So the equipment we would need to continue to mow county roadways,
Okay.
what's one tractor with a sidearm mower cost?
So the quote I have from Kubota right here is, and it looks like that's Sourcewell, which is like a state contract. It's $112,972 for for that tractor.
Is that a four-wheel drive?
It is a four-wheel drive. I asked 2 vendors to price me a 2-wheel drive because I felt like that's really all we needed. But they all come back and say we need the weight of the 4-wheel drive for the side mount mowers. So they recommend
I think
putting
you need
them
the
on,
traction too.
you know, on 4-wheel drive.
I think you need the traction too. I mean, I know you're on a roadway.
The,
but-
the only good thing it is you can put truck tires on a 2-wheel drive because those front tires are $1,000 a piece. So that's the only bad thing.
So we're looking at about $113,000 if we wanna buy another brand new.
To buy a brand new tractor, yeah,
Okay. And we probably need
2,
two.
not 3.
I know you said we were spending around 4,000 a month this summer just to keep them going.
Yeah, I mean, just to keep the ones going the way we're going is, the ones in 1989, I mean, it's done its purpose. It's,
Yeah.
the guys have been working on, hydraulic leaks and stuff on it right now, and we just put it back on the road. A bucket of hydraulic was $150 a bucket now compared to, was what, $20 or $25? So, we had tried to slow the leaks down, of course, and,
And I'll say, you know, because, I guess while you was out of town, I had them drop the tractor off for me so I could do
Yeah.
some mowing around some of the county roads. And the ones with the brush cutters, you have to be sitting in the middle of the lane or on the opposite side of the road to cut next to you. It's just, and it pretty much, a brush cutter doesn't mow all that well. When you get into tall grass, it kind of just braids the grass instead of cutting it. So after it rains, it pops right back up.
yeah, I mean, they're designed to brush cut, get up in the trees and brush cut.
And
And they're not the safest tool for anybody, for the guys or
they
for the
sling it
public,
out,
you know, so.
And we have 2 of those,
Yeah.
and we have only 1 tractor with actual mower on it.
So the John Deere that's been in the shop for 8 months, I called him again and
Which is the one we need.
begged him to fix it, and he promised me he would pull it in the next 2 days. And,
So, is this the same guy that you said, hey, we might be in the market for buying new and?
he's calling and pressuring them too because of that. So I have a John Deere estimate here too, on a new mower tractor. I wanna say it was
I
that
mean,
higher.
raise my feet up, because I'm sure it
It was,
is. Anything green is more expensive.
Yeah,
Would,
it wasn't like terrible though.
Is it just not out
They
of,
get you the parts.
with summer kids, is that just not gonna work anymore? Is that just in the past, can't do it? I mean, those kids used to keep things mowed down pretty good. I know it wasn't the big machinery we got now, but they was out there with their weed eaters hitting it. Would it pay to hire some of them kids again next summer? I know we did it and we stopped it because of COVID or something,
It
didn't
was
we?
COVID.
Yeah, and I'm
Everything's
just
COVID.
thinking maybe we ought to return back to that, and, although I do think we need,
I mean, I'm not against looking at it by any kind of means. I guess it would have to go, you know, $10 nowadays are over even for kids, so.
And
We
part-time
have
rate's
to-
like 11, 19 here or something.
Yeah,
Regular
I don't-
part-time.
We could look at it and see if we get anybody, you know, I've been told that there was a lot of equipment, a lot of broke stuff, and, you know, if you break a $700 weed eater, a couple of them, and I'm not saying you can't get anybody good, I just don't know if that's the right direction, but.
and I
I'm
don't
not
know,
opposed.
I don't know either. I know we did it, and,
Yeah, I'm all about the summer help.
Yeah.
We didn't pull, like we did last year, which worked out well. We didn't pull anybody then this year because I couldn't keep, there's no sense of paying them, I couldn't keep 2 tractors on the road all the time.
yeah. Well, I'm not against getting
Basically.
mowers. I think we need them.
I think we need to do more spraying
Absolutely.
too. So, you know, I guess the goal would be if we was able to get 2 new tractors or whatever we went with, you know, to up the spraying. And like I said, I'm not against getting anybody to come weed eat. I don't know. But with that being said, actually the John Deere tractor was $98,000. I didn't realize that.
98,000.
$98,901.37. So
It's already getting cheaper.
Is that a 4-wheel drive as well?
that is 4-wheel drive.
Wow. Like Randy said, they'll get you in the parts. So.
Yeah, they're gonna get you in their
And that's with,
proprietary oils and proprietary.
And that's with the mower.
yeah, that's with, yeah, the tractor itself was 61,000 and the mower was 40,000, give or take, you know.
And that's apples and apples.
Yeah, that's really close to the same tractor.
Same
you know.
size motor.
Same size, yeah, right around 100
Are
horse.
those cabs too?
Yeah, the cab tractor.
Are we talking ARP here? Probably, I don't know.
I think what he's trying to do here is show, here's what the equipment's gonna cost us to continue to mow, and here's what it's gonna cost possibly if we bid it out where somebody else mows for us.
Yeah, basically we're mower poor, so, I mean, there had to be a decision to be made one way or another. I think we patched them together just about as long as you're gonna patch them together.
Isn't there something to where actually some of the farmers can go out and do it all and we have to pay them? I think that's been done in the past, hasn't it?
Well,
Our attorney can tell you that, I don't know.
Randy brought that up, and I'd be honest with you, I don't have the answer, because I don't know.
Well, I know
I don't
they
know
have-
how you manage that per se, I mean, how do you
Well, it's
say,
not-
okay, you need to mow that road, you know, I don't know.
Well, no, we just have to contract out with them.
Contract, yeah.
And if we can do that, that's,
I've never seen
some of
that.
the farmers, I know in the past it's been done.
I don't know anything specific about that.
I mean, we're talking about Curleyville Road, those farmers out there has cleared all that out, we've done very little of that. But I think that's the ditch issues,
Right.
yeah. It'd be worth looking at.
I think so too. I mean, I think there's a possibility if we worded it right. But I mean, we need to see what we come back with on the bids here, but, I think
Quotes, right?
I think we could figure it out how to make that work, honestly. If we needed to.
He likes that word.
They would have to, of course, yeah, there'd be some liability they'd have to cover for themselves. I mean, it's just an option we got. Just look at them all and see what's best.
It is, and I mean, the only thing about it is, you know, it kinda takes a certain kind of equipment, you know, to be able to do it.
They'll be moving over into my district pretty soon, you think, more.
Yeah, actually Kevin's on your side right
And the
now.
reason I said I'm specific to everything going out to Leota with the frolic this month.
Yeah, me and Chad talked about that today.
Yeah.
And actually Kevin's out there right now just with the regular mower. but
Okay.
out there.
Okay.
So what you got?
That's it besides these, I think, besides these, quotes. So,
So I guess before we do something here, because we seem to get this always backwards, where we, in an open meeting, give quotes out, and then we decide we're going to do something different, and everybody knows what everybody's quote is, so.
I suggest we just don't give the name of the quote. Whoever gave the quote, just don't tell their
If we
name.
open it, we have to.
You have to.
If you open
Are you
it,
doing?
if you open it, you have to.
Oh, okay.
If you want to table
If you
them,
want to table opening the quotes, then we can do that.
I'm nervous when I know what somebody wants. I mean, what they put a bid out here, and I mean, if it did get out, everybody'd be looking at one of us three going, which one of you told?
No, I get that.
And none of us, not that we'd do that, but I mean, but I would rather if we just didn't know it, we could deal with it
Well,
when
I
it came
mean,
for us.
let me throw this out there, and I think Kevin's already said this, is that this isn't a project for this year, I don't,
this is, yeah.
this is a next year project.
The spec I sent out to the vendors, and I sent out 8 or 9, I think, and looks like we got back 2. It's a 2023 year.
Yeah, cause he has to
And it's
budget
2
for it.
mowings and, cause, yeah, we need to take this to the council and it's just, it's more of a, this
Or
or this.
Yeah.
It's kinda your options.
Let me ask you this, if we open up a quote and we give the information, along with the name, like we have to,
Yep.
if we have to quote it again for some
That's,
reason.
you would need to
only reach out
reject,
to
you need
those-
to reject all quotes, start over. Right, because
You can't reach out just to the same ones that,
this section applies only if the purchasing agent expects the purchase to be at least 50, but less than 150. A purchasing agent may purchase supplies by inviting quotes from at least 3 persons in the field in this line of classes of supplies to be purchased. The purchasing agent shall mail an invitation quote to the person described at least 7 days before the time fixed for receiving quotes. If the purchasing agent receives a satisfactory quote, the purchasing agent shall award a contract to the lowest responsible and responsive offer for each line or class of supplies required. So you can, the purchasing agent may reject all quotes, that's the next section. So you could reject all quotes and start over. But if you have somebody else that you want to invite to this quote party, you would need to reject and, yeah.
Well, quite honestly, he's put out fillers to 9 people and only 2 produced a bid, so, you know, it's not like there's gonna be somebody new coming to the show unless we tell them, hey, here's the money you're gonna, you know, here's the bids, and somebody decides later, hey, I didn't think I would even get close, and I'm gonna get in the deal, but I guess there's more to the summer mowing, besides just buying 2 tractors. I mean, you know, what does it, do you have an idea ballpark of what it costs man hours for us to mow? Because that's gonna fall into a tabulation of, you know, or calculation of.
Well,
You know, I can, and that's what I was gonna do is take, you know, we could take these.
I wanna
and-
open them,
and
cause I wanna know if it's even something we need to
If
even
it's even
entertain.
entertained, that's kinda where I'm at. Is it something that you can even entertain at the county level?
but also the mowers that Kevin is looking at, our hours will go down because they're more adequate to mow.
Oh, I get that, I
What
get
we
that,
are mowing
yeah.
than what we
Yeah,
got now.
We go a mile and repair for 3 hours or a day.
And you know, and the contract mowers, it isn't that the county is no longer gonna mow anything, because you're always gonna have your problem, because these are twice a year mowing. You're always gonna have your problem areas and your festivals and different things that's gonna come up that you gotta touch up. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it puts us totally out of the picture, it just puts us out of the big picture.
Well, and to clarify, the state has sold all their mowing equipment years ago, and they've contracted it. Not saying they do a great job, or, cause I remember the state used to looked a lot better when they were out there on those wide tired tractors.
Well, I think you guys do all you can do with what you got.
Me three.
But I mean, as far as the public, I mean, it's just like, I cycle roads every day, not roads, but
Yeah.
it's like, so you're looking at it and come up with
My
something.
voice is low, yeah. You ran 3 men last year. I don't know how many weeks you ran them during the summertime, but there were 3 men, 40 hours a week at $19 an hour. Two? Was it 2? I think we budgeted for 3 in case you
Yeah,
could get that.
that
I
might be,
ended
but
up at the
it's-
transfer station, that is correct.
That's what it was,
You
yeah,
lost
he
him at the
worked
transfer station.
it.
So 2 times 40 for
And his ideal thing is 3.
12 weeks probably.
I guess 10
Yeah,
weeks.
I think around 10 weeks. is what it
10
was.
weeks times 2 people, that's 20 weeks at 40 hours a week times $19 an hour. That's your mower.
And, I mean, I
That's just
can
the
break all
base.
that down,
That's not
it's not like
the
we're gonna
bed,
make a
that's not
decision
the-
tonight. I mean, we got oil,
Right,
gas,
and
and.
Oh, yeah, you got fuel and.
And so on. And I don't think another thing to look at, I don't think it's saying it's gonna take work away. I think if we end up doing this, you need to fill that work in with, you know, preservation work, whether that be chip seal or more crack sealing or patching or whatever it is.
I got about $15,200.
And you know, there's nothing more important to the public than mowing.
Oh, yeah,
I-
that's the biggest complaint
It's
I
a,
get.
it's a,
Oh,
almost a
Lord.
given. Yeah, it's almost a given. Yeah.
So, all right, let's open them up. And before you open them, I think, and I'm gonna say, my son owns Scott's Mowing, and I know he's put bid in, so I will abstain from
This is
any
just for the quotes,
conversation.
but for the services.
Yes.
Right, this is not for, okay.
Well, this is for what again?
This is mowing 2 times a year, all county roads.
Contract, full contract.
Full
This will be for
contract.
next year? Or now?
Yeah, to 2023 year.
Okay.
What Kevin did was, he went out, because we were having trouble with mowers, he went out and asked people if they had a contract to mow, and not have to buy tractors, and not have to have summer help to do stuff, or to alleviate the money. Well, we're trying to figure out, is it cheaper to contract it out, or is it cheaper to buy the mowers? and hired
Yeah.
people to mow. So, this is a fishing expedition right now,
So
so.
this is not obligating us to do anything?
No,
It's just-
not at all.
Okay.
We just need to know where we're at, whether we wanna go buy 2 tractors, or we wanna,
Yeah, okay.
we wanna use, we see that it's more feasible to contract it out.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help, but summertime is the time you need to be working on road preservation and doing all your other projects.
And you're mowing.
And you're trying to mow at the same time, and it's just.
And the other part of this is apples to apples, so apples, I want to use apples to apples. Make sure they're all on the same scope of work, but you said you told them 2 times, so
Yeah,
2 times.
I wrote a spec for him to, to follow. If one comes back and it's over the $150,000, what do we,
It's estimated
okay,
amounts.
okay, so I just read the vendor and the amount.
Yeah.
So the first one's Scott's mowing, and county road, he's got mow and weed eat 2 times per year, 310 miles of county road, both sides, so 620. Come back at a total of 169,950.
169?
Yeah. And the next one was by KLB Excavating Inc. It's mowing 310 miles on the left and right side of the road. First cutting starting by the last Monday of May. The second cutting starting by the first Monday of September. And I wrote those in the specs. 60,760.
60,000 what?
760. There we go.
There you go.
Where's KLB at? Who is that?
That's Kevin Brown.
Okay.
How much is that?
6760.
That's, yeah, 60,760 is how much KLB was.
All right.
So we can just table that to a later date?
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to table it until, that way.
Make that motion.
I'll come
Makes a
back.
Motion to table it, Randy.
Yeah, we can table it.
And I can come back with some good numbers on man hours, the amount of fuel, that it takes to do that, and oil, and estimated breakdowns, and so on. That way we can get a fair look at it.
I think it's gonna be hard to beat $60,760.
That's tough. You always gotta keep in mind too, I mean, you buy a $100,000 tractor and it's new in 2022, but 3, 4, 5 years down the road, it's starting to fall apart again. So as far as me looking at a maintenance schedule and stuff, if you got $27,000, which is basically what we get for equipment repair, which is not much. You gotta look at it, those things too, so.
All right, John made a motion to table this until a future meeting. Randy seconded that, and I'll make that unanimous. Guess you
So we put a date on when we're gonna come back to that?
Well, we need to do it pretty quick, because their
Budgeting
budgeted
meeting
meetings
Tuesday,
are
yeah,
coming
that
up,
I'm going to.
but,
Guess I'll
I
start
think
really
we're on it.
checking numbers in October.
But it's not yeah.
Yeah, don't start
Might do it
picking.
this year.
$60,000,
It might be good to do it now.
Yeah, I think we should.
I can say that yeah, that'd be tough to beat.
I don't see how you're going. Honestly, I don't.
well, I mean,
Given our
Now, I guess
situation-
with that being said, I mean, as long as that was agreed upon, council I mean, if you took the summer help that mows, I mean, there's $27,000 yearly in our budget for the summer help, so, just for the manpower. So, I guess, you know, they would have to see on where those funds need to come out to.
So do you think that if you, because you said earlier that, you know, it's not that we would not be in the mowing business, we would just not be in, we'd be touching up stuff. So we wouldn't be hiring a mowing crew, we would be mowing with the crew we already have, correct?
Yeah, just, you know, you'd be going out and doing your touch-ups and your, you know, your little frogs coming and people calling. There's always gonna be mowing, you know, touch-ups, stuff grows in over stop signs, it's always gonna be that.
Well, that's the question I was gonna ask here, is that, how many vehicles, if somebody win this, we go, how many vehicles will be out mowing? One, or, you know what I'm saying, we've got 2 or 3 at times now,
Right.
we don't know maybe, or
Yeah, I think,
60,000 is a good number, but with one vehicle doing the whole county.
right. I'll have to look and see what I wrote in the specs. You know, I think they was looking at a couple weeks, you know, a couple, 3 weeks of them being done in all the districts, but
But that'd be once a year,
twice.
once in
So,
the spring,
yeah, it
once
would
in the
be,
fall.
let me look at Caleb because he wrote exactly what I wrote him. Mowing 310 miles on left and right hand side of the road. First cutting start by the last Monday of May. The second cutting to start by the first Monday of September. And like I said, that's not gonna get us totally out of the mowing business, because it's gonna get a little woolly in spots, but
But is he weeding too?
it isn't necessarily any weed eating. I think I put it in my spec, trim back any overgrown signs, you know, stop signs and stuff. Whether that be a weed eater, or if you need to back up and get it, you know. Just, and that's 5 foot. I wrote in this, I wish I should have printed that off. I wrote in the spec, that's 5 foot off the road where you can. So they'll never go over 5 feet, which we don't. Of course, there's areas that you can't get 5 feet.
This is May, starting May and starting
No, the end of May, isn't it?
First cutting by the last Monday of May,
last Monday of May.
and the second cutting by the first Monday of September.
Alright, so here's my only,
Stretched out.
yeah, this is my only thing that I'm gonna ask. Is he gonna mow all the way up to that time and start over again? with one
No, these
tractor?
are 2 cuttings, you know, 2 cuttings.
Right, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
is he gonna use one tractor and have to mow all the way up to September and then
Yeah,
start over again?
I mean, you know, for me to give you an answer is an opinion. My opinion is no, but it's not a fact. So,
Well, but what,
Because I'm finding it hard, I'm finding it hard to believe with the amount of money that he's charging, which is a great price.
yeah, I
I'm not
think,
sure how you can afford 2 people and 2 tractors, and 310 miles of road takes a long time to mow. So that's my only hesitation.
yeah, and it does, but
his budget thing's next week.
Epi council will be Tuesday.
I think you might be surprised with the quality equipment and guys working 60, 70 hours a week, about how fast they can knock it out.
Even if we pass,
Yeah.
Now, when they knock down mailboxes and all that, it will still be our problem. I mean, that happens with us too.
Well, no, it should be the contractor's problem, but we'll hear about it.
I
And
know we
it's the
will.
same on the state level of things.
Yeah.
Everything gets called back to us. And then we'll have to delegate it from there. You know, there'll be that. That'll happen.
we can pass something, but if the council doesn't approve it,
Yeah.
then it's not going anywhere, so.
Yeah.
But I guess, I don't have a problem voting, but my whole thing here is, well, I'm not gonna vote anyway, but, you need to know, hey, the commissioners are favorable to do this, but am I gonna get the money? You know, or where can I find the $60,000? So I think you go next week with the, I mean, I don't know what your guys are
You
thinking.
could pass a contingent on
Yes.
approval by county council.
And that's where I was getting at, is that you need to know to take it in front of them and say, hey, we're cutting out this and we're doing this, but I guess just to give you a heads up in the budget process instead of us coming back at a later meeting going, hey, we're gonna do that next year, and then budget's already been finalized, and they say, well, you didn't ask for it, so. I guess my question would be, or my thought would be, is that you would ask them for it, and they can tell you no, and then we're gonna know it's no, so.
Right, and then we can look at other,
For budgeting purposes,
Avenues.
you've got a really good idea of what you can compare to and tell
Yeah.
council about your plan, and the commissioner's supportive if it's a cost savings, and they'll.
and I mean, I think it has to be looked at, that, you know, this is, if you went with that, it solves 2023. Now, if your same vendor doesn't come back with that great,
Yeah,
you know, with that great
you might
price,
go, wait a minute,
what do you wanna look at in 2024? So I think that's something you have to
And you
at
don't know
least
what
look
you're
at.
asking.
It is, I mean, I think right now, and I'm just from experience, I think right now, if you ran the numbers and you had everything in that you did this year for just mowing,
Oh, you'd be over,
considering repair, I think you'd be over 60.
way,
Mhm.
way, I ain't got a figure to tell you
Well,
that.
but then again, are we gonna follow in the same, footsteps we did with the health department mowing, where the guy goes, oh, I'm in, now he doubles his price, and then next year this guy's in, and he goes, well, I realize I can't do it for that.
Can
You know.
we,
It'd be locked in for a year.
If-
Oh, he'd be locked in
For
for a year.
one, but then
Yeah.
next year it'd be,
if they was to go with the lowest bid, could the contractor, say they wanted to ask him if he wanted to lock in for 3 years at that bid? Is that something they could do off that one bid?
I don't think, you gotta accept it, you only bid it out for 1 year, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's reject or accept on its face, you can't alter the terms.
Okay.
And I don't know how a contractor could say that with the
Second
steel
off,
prices, the way
I
they.
think there's problems with entering into contracts that are multi-year when you're talking about elected officials, because,
Yeah.
binding future boards to
Other words,
contractual obligations.
He doesn't think I'll ever be reelected. and-
That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'd say, I would.
Ditto.
hate to say this. I don't know.
Me.
I think that's
Not
all of us maybe, who knows?
not,
I get what you're saying, yeah,
Yeah, we might not be here.
yeah.
Over on mowing, I talked to Abbott fair week, and talked to him about getting all the landfill and all that county property mowed, and he's willing to do it, but he said the price of gas was gonna make him charge more, so.
It was $1,000 last time, wasn't it?
I think it was more than that, wasn't it?
I think it's 5, wasn't it around?
I don't know, but anyway, he's
5,000?
ready to do it.
I would have to, I could pull this
Well, I
one
thought,
fund
I didn't
vendor.
think it was that much,
Let's move
but it
on.
could be, I thought it was 1,700 or something.
I'd like to make a
Oh,
motion
on Mr. Abbott.
to
Yeah.
accept the 60,000.
Well, anyway, that needs mowed, all of it. Usually he does it in August. So, whatever we paid him last year, he basically said, okay, except for the price of gas, he's going
Can we
up,
go,
I'm charge more.
can we go pull that?
And
It's
I'm
the
ready for
same
him to
fund.
go, but I mean, unless somebody wants to put a hold on this
I'm fine with
thing.
that.
But we won't meet for it for 2 weeks, and,
I'm fine with that.
yeah,
I'd say whatever it is.
well, that's kinda what I am. Let him
I'm
mow
thinking
it.
it's $1,000.
It wasn't on for what he mowed.
I didn't,
Because
matter of
I think-
fact, he wasn't too thrilled about
Let me
even
just-
doing it
let me
again.
look
He
at
tore up
last
his
year.
mowers and everything else at the landfill. It was not,
Well, he's knocked
and he
everything-
bites that.
He's knocked everything down now, it'll be good now.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna do it, I think, but it just left, we just say, no, we gotta do more bid. He the only one bidded for it.
On Kevin's deal here, I would like to make a motion to accept the $60,000, $60,780,
60.
60.
It's 60, 76.
That is a 6, okay. Bid from Kevin Brown on the contingency that the council approves.
And this is for next year.
2023.
2023.
I'm kinda with you on this, but I'm kinda like, and myself going, why so quick? Why are we in a hurry for this one?
Because of the budget.
'Cause
Well,
he's
you need it for your budget.
He's coming up to a budget meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, next Tuesday, actually.
You know what, I can go along with that. I don't think that's gonna, I think you guys will still be out doing some mowing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, like I said, it doesn't put us totally out of the mowing business, but
It'll get somebody out there.
it doesn't require you
Well,
to have 2 mowers.
They'll
The
take
thing-
90% off of it.
It takes 90% off.
thing about it is, we can try it, it's a year contract.
Yeah.
If it don't work out, we don't do it again, so.
We'll have somebody out there mowing on top of what you guys are doing.
All right, again, I'm not gonna, I'm taking.
I second the
I'm gonna
motion.
take myself out of this. 'cause
I second it, Randy.
So, motion's been made to accept the quote of $60,760 from KOB. Is it, I don't know what their company is, but KOB.
KLBX.
For 2 mowings, for the calendar year 2023, one in May and one in September. The motion was made by Randy, seconded by John, and I'm gonna abstain, so.
And I think Kevin's done a lot of work for us in the past, and we've always been pleased, haven't we?
Yes. He's always done a great job.
That's what I thought, yeah.
All right, council, since I've abstained, asked to
Okay.
do a vote, show of hands or whatever, I guess, or nay, yay or nay, so, Randy,
Yay.
yay,
Yeah.
John, yay, so 2 yays and 1 abstain, so.
And now, the second
You happy
question,
with
did we say what fund that we want to take it out of, or just gonna let them decide that, or you're gonna?
Yeah, that'll be the council to see
They voted to
what
accept
direction
the
they
lowest
wanna.
bid.
And you'll sit down with her and probably sort it all
continue
out before you
on.
ever get to council,
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, there's a lot of different options.
Appropriation by
There's
council.
stuff around. I don't think that's a,
Motion was made by Randy, seconded by John.
yeah.
Mike abstained, and Mike and Randy voted. John and Randy voted to accept that bid. I'm sorry.
That's
2
good.
to 1 abstain. 2
Yes.
to 1, okay.
All right,
Thank
Good
you.
thing with the-
anything else?
Well,
We're
no.
gonna make it as a college.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm not good at play-by-play.
All right, moving along.
Thanks, Kevin.
It's like, covered bridge certification for the Leota Bridge.
And I have the original right here. You guys just have a copy.
And we only got one.
And I guess
bid.
my question, since we're talking about Leota Bridge, did it ever the roof get fixed?
No, I talked to, Jeff out fair, and, he honestly didn't even know, he wasn't even sure we'd give him the bid. So I told him we did, and we'd love to have it done before Leota this year, and I don't know if he's gonna get it done by then or not.
Okay,
This is a certification that the auditor has to provide to the state on an annual basis, and we have one covered bridge in the county. Has not changed since forever. So, you guys are just attesting that that's all the funding that we're gonna be asking for.
If we sign this, we'll get the
You get your annual
annual, whatever it is.
disbursement for coverage.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
all right, I'll entertain a motion to, I guess, send this covered bridge certification back to the state of Indiana.
I'll make that motion.
John made a motion, Randy?
Second.
Randy seconds that, I'll make that unanimous. so.
And here, I'll pass this
Everybody
down
has to
and
sign
you
it, so. While she's talking about that, or why she's sending it down here, purchasing ordinance 2022-08. Counselor?
So, in between the last meeting where we discussed the purchasing ordinance, we talked about some specific changes to the small purchasing section and adding in something regarding the purchase of vehicles specifically. Tammy was able to locate a prior ordinance that was adopted
In 2016.
it was 2016-09. It amended the prior purchasing ordinances, and it specifically dealt with the purchase of vehicles. So you will see that in section 12, that is effectively verbatim the prior ordinance on the purchase for vehicles, with the addition of subsection D that basically just says that these are additional requirements that must be met when a purchasing agent is attempting to purchase a vehicle or other item requiring registration by the state of Indiana or liability coverage under insurance policies of the county. So that is how that is defined when we're talking about vehicles. I think you had a question about tractors or those types of things. Again, those would all be things that would be covered by that. it deals with like titling requirements, and specifically that regardless of funding, that they would come to you first for prior approval, and prior to placing any order for such an item. So, just so you understand, that's been in place, that's been the ordinance since 2016. So you're not altering that. Basically, we're just condensing a number of prior ordinances and updating some of them to be consistent with the current delineations of the public purchasing, like thresholds, so 50,000, 150,000. There's also some changes that dealt with evidence of financial responsibility, small business set-asides, price modifications, and businesses that are not small businesses as defined in Indiana code. I think there were some changes to those. So those have all just been updated to reflect what is in the current statute. So in addition, in the small purchasing section, there was one change that I made that discussed basically record-keeping procedures in addition to any public record-keeping procedures required by statute, that it was your all's decision as the purchasing agency to require that whoever goes out and purchases something on behalf of the county, if it's a small purchase, because I think that's mainly what we're talking about when we're talking about these monthly claims. We're not really talking about these large purchases of 50 to 150 or in excess of 150, because in those situations we're going to have quotes, we're going to have bids, right? We're talking about small purchases, these small claims. When we're talking about that, it talks about keeping copies of itemized receipts in legible format for your all's review, and that those would be submitted to the county auditor's office for review prior to approval of the claims by the Board of Commissioners. I think in many respects this was in some ways already being done, right? But just puts this in written format, I guess, as a requirement. And I think that in the future, if you have a question of a specific claim, you know, it should be easier for you to discuss that with department heads about, okay, where is the itemized receipt, where is this, okay? So you can go direct to them. So again, we're not changing much other than what has changed in the Indiana code, and we are condensing what was 4 ordinances into 1.
So we're cleaning it up.
Yeah.
This has to be advertised as well, doesn't it?
This is an
Actually, no,
administrative.
this is an administrative ordinance, so you could actually take action on this at today's meeting.
Can we pass it
If
through
it passes
today?
unanimously, you could effectively accept it today as a.
Okay. All right.
I've read it, I like it.
What's the major differences again that we're changing?
The major differences would be the specific changes in the Indiana code that dealt with the thresholds. In section 11, subsection A is new, records for small purchases. And the rest of it is more just, again, just condensing what was kind of 4 disparate ordinances that, you know, luckily you've had good counsel formerly that's been able to draft all of this, most of it. It's just finding it all became kind of cumbersome in terms of how each one would affect. There was like an amendment to an amendment to a, so this is just repealing those prior ordinances and replacing them with one condensed version of everything.
Yeah, I'm good.
That way, when your department heads ask, what am I supposed to do?
Right here.
You have one document.
Yeah.
Because we had a separate purchasing ordinance, we had a
Correct.
separate United,
Vehicle
like
purchasing ordinance,
then-
we had a separate,
domestic purchase ordinance, we had a
Yes.
separate vehicle
Okay.
ordinance. This is a kind of one-stop shop for them.
Sounds good. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to pass ordinance number 2022-008. And it's It's an ordinance that is replacing, repealing ordinances, 1998-8, 1998-9, 1998-10, and 2016-9, and establish a purchasing agency for Scott County. And again, it's just clearing up several other ordinances that were out there that we combined them together. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make it.
I'll
Randy makes a
second.
motion, John seconds that, and I'll make it unanimous, so, passes on the first reading. So,
Good job, Zach.
good job, Zach.
And you guys
That
can,
is all right.
Good job, Tammy.
Next
Oh,
time,
thank you.
Yeah, they will thank Tammy as well.
Front page.
well,
That's
I
all.
appreciate that, because,
Well, it cleans the mud up.
yes, thank you.
Uh,
You just sign that and
consideration-
pass it down, and
Oh, I'm
Randy's got to
sorry.
sign on the back.
Consideration of the regular, July 2022 claims. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the claims? Yeah.
Yes.
Randy's
I'll
on that.
entertain a motion, yes,
All right, I want to bring it up on funds.
okay.
So,
Here's your John Henry.
I was reading the claims and I asked Tammy and Mandy to run the numbers for us. So on our electric, we spend $143,275.66 a year in electric, and that is for the courthouse, the 911 center, and the jail. So in looking at that, I think we need to probably bring in somebody and talk to them about going solar. With the area of the roof on the jail and the area of the roof on the 911 center, I think we could possibly get enough solar power to produce our own energy. Because the costs are always going to go up. I mean, so, you know, this was ran last year, energy's going up. This year, they've already talked about Duke Energy's raising and so on and so forth across the board. Next year, it's not going to get any cheaper. So I think we need to take a strong look at maybe going solar on that.
You're talking about solar with a,
Solar panels.
I get that, but you're talking about solar with electric backup?
With, yes, generator, which we
No,
have
I'm talking
generators
about-
already in place, right? So,
So you're talking about cutting the electric off from the city
well,
and saying,
you can switch power back on, you can just pay a very small
that's where I'm getting at.
service fee in case something happens, but, and I mean, and one of the biggest expenditures in solar is batteries. And the courthouse would not need as many batteries as a normal solar setup because there's nobody here in the evenings. Even like right now, we're gonna be running on battery, but you wouldn't need battery, you know, for the kilowatt hours for like the whole. So I think it's something that we should be taking a look at when we talk this kind of money. And add to the going green motto, the sheriff's department has spent in parts and fuel. And now when I say this, I just took a snippet of what I've been seeing here and added that up, you know, forecasted that out for a year. So this could vary some, okay? It's just a rough number. But so for parts and fuel, it was $258,622.64 a year. So I think that's something else we should seriously look at. And Bargersville Police Department. And I asked Andrew if you guys got any questions to put that on the computer. We can bring it up and look at it if you want to. But they do now have pursuit vehicles, electric pursuit vehicles, that runs a range of around 350 miles before they need charged, and they can be charged up in a matter of a couple hours. So easily done between the shifts. But I think that's worth looking at this point, if we would start for the future, any vehicles bought by the sheriff's department, maybe to be going, agreed on if it's electric. Bargersville Police Department is figuring out in that website, Bargersville, Indiana, that every 18 months, the vehicle's paying for itself. A return on investment in 18 months.
Back to the solar thing, I'd be concerned or want to see somebody that's into that knows that we would be able to get enough solar
Yeah, we
panels
don't
to
do
be
that.
able to run it.
Right.
The other part of this is that the city of Scottsburg, which is where we get our electric from, they actually own their own. I mean, they are a corporation or a LLC or whatever they are. I mean,
Yes.
they're part of a group of, I guess, utilities that own their own stuff, so they're not Duke, so.
I realize that, but they have the same,
Oh, yeah.
they have the same payments as every other.
Oh, I get that.
But,
But I'd be curious to see what it is, but
if we could look at those two things, and if there was a way we could pull this off, I just let you know, it's $401,898.30 a year we'd be saving. That's worth looking at.
yeah, it's worth looking at.
I think that's your request, is just to look at it, and see what
Yeah.
can be done. I'm all for that.
Yeah,
because
that's-
Not only for the cost of it, I just think it's better if you can do solar, but let's see. I'm a little hesitant on the police car thing, but we'll see how that works out. Worth looking at.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We just, I think at $401,000, $898, it's definitely worth
I think
opening our eyes and investigating.
if it didn't what we want, then it isn't, but it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right,
Question,
Question.
just a
Yeah.
question.
that,
When you're talking about saving money, that's great, but that may not always correspond with going green. Been reading things about the lithium batteries and all that's required for these, so
Yeah.
just think about that.
That's a good, that's a good thing to bring up.
That's part
A lot of what they're doing on batteries now are rebuilding the batteries. So the batteries aren't going into the landfills.
So,
If that's what you're referring to.
No, I was talking about them making the batteries, the amount of resource fossil fuel, and I'm not an expert, I just read it, but something to consider. If you're talking about going green, it might not go as green as we think.
it's gonna go
Just a
brown.
thought.
I think, of course, the goal is to save some money.
Yeah,
and
well,
hopefully help.
let's
hopefully.
look into it, see what, if there's a cost savings or something we can save money at, cause
I think
I'm all for that.
2 or 3 years ago, I think it was Vernon and North Vernon, didn't do exactly that, but they were on the grid somehow or other for solar for all their county buildings. I don't know if it's supplements or what, but there's something worth looking at there.
It
Yeah,
is.
and I had a question on whether or not, because I know there's a lot of government rebates and so on and so forth, but will government actually rebate a county government? I'm just curious about
I don't
that.
have an idea.
Worth looking at.
Yeah.
All right, I guess again, we're talking about the claims here, not the additionals, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular July 2022 claims.
I'll make a motion.
And
Randy
I'll
makes a
second.
motion,
I'll second.
John seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. While we're talking about that, we got an additional claims. And I'm gonna ask, what's the Mead Law Firm?
That is our drainage
Just for
board
drainage board.
attorney.
Okay. All right, there's additional claims considerations for Baker Tilly for $61.50. I'm sure that's for,
Redevelopment TIF preparations.
okay. Mead Law Firm, and I'll go back. Baker Tilly for $6,150. Mead Law Firm for $474.75. Striegel Asphalt for $20,000.
And that was for
And
the
that's
paving
it.
across the street from your ARPA fund.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, I'll entertain a motion to pay the additionals.
I'll make that motion to pay the additions.
John makes a motion to pay the additionals, Randy.
Second.
Randy seconds that, I'll make that unanimous. Everybody had an opportunity to look at the payroll, for July the 29th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion to accept the payroll.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, John?
Second.
John seconds that, I'll make that unanimous. Everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from the 23rd meeting, from the special, meeting on July the 11th.
Yeah, I'm good.
Randy?
Yes,
I'll accept them. Entertain a motion to accept, the meetings minutes for, the 23rd and the July 11th.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes a motion, John seconds that, and I'll make it unanimous.
You need to see some of this, or?
I will, here in just a second.
Looks like, the next thing on here is the ARPA fund project consideration for the courtyard perimeter sidewalk. I know we did that it's probably been maybe a month ago or longer.
So I think when we looked back at the meeting minutes, we did not find a specific request to include this in the commissioner's plan for use of ARPA funds specifically. So, and if there was a mistake there, I think that's my fault.
No,
But I would request that basically you guys adopt basically similar to what was done for where you adopt it in your plan and you send it to council for appropriation.
well,
And I think the specific amount was
65,000.
65,000 was the expected. So we're talking about an amount where we would still do an invitation for quotes after this on that, but
We already have the quotes.
you already have quotes.
That's why I remember that night, because Tammy wasn't here, because I think your mother was in the hospital. And Teresa was here, and we talked about this and opened the quotes and looked at them, and Teresa said, well, she's getting ready to advertise for the $450,000 or $400,000 for the roof, and she said, why don't we just make it a project? So,
And
then when it went to council, it didn't get explained that way. So.
I realize that, and again, I apologize for that situation, so, I would request just a readoption of use of ARPA funds specifically for the project related to
It's fine.
the courtyard perimeter sidewalks.
And I'm gonna add to that as well, because in light of what we knew at the time of that meeting and enlightenment that we've learned later, we have felt it to be prudent and in the best interest of tracking federal funds to make the roof replacement project appropriation $200,000 in a project line. Make the project for the courthouse roof emergency a separate $250,000 project, which was the total of what was advertised. Therefore, the sidewalk would be an independent project, because unfortunately, if you make it a courtyard improvement project, after we learned what we learned about the federal
And no matter
strings.
what, no matter what happens, there was not enough money advertised for appropriation to cover 3 of those, so we were coming back for the same.
Even at
request.
450, yeah. There
Well-
was still gonna be a shortfall even at 450 from basically what I've got calculated. If we included the 65 in the 450.
So,
So I'll make a motion to use ARPA funds to pay for the perimeter sidewalk around the jail, around the courtyard.
I'd like to discuss it before I vote on it.
Well, we've already talked about it before, so I don't wanna go any farther. I've asked Josh for 2 months, hey, when they gonna start on that sidewalk? Hey, when they gonna start on that sidewalk? And then to come to find out all this other stuff that we didn't even do it, when I walked away from that meeting thinking we did it. So, I wanna vote on it, so
Well, I still want to discuss it.
but we can discuss it.
Okay, that's all I want.
Tammy, I got, hang on a minute, cause Tammy's going back to this 450. There's only 3 bills out there right now. I know there's a straggler or 2 with engineers stuff, but the original price of the roof was $149,000. They allocated 200, set aside 200.
And that's why we had to take, so
I
now
get
we're down
that.
to 250. Because 200 is appropriated for the roof
But it was
replacement.
never going to be 200. I mean, that's where I'm
But that
getting
was
at.
council's
I
action.
think we're just trying to make sure that there's a specific request for use of these.
I get that, but I'm going back to her she's saying we've already spent the 450 or.
No, we've not expended it. It's just when you look at the appropriation, you've set aside 200. Even though the roof project was 149 at its quote, there still was not 100% for sure that was all it was going to be, so
get
they
that.
appropriated. So you have to leave the 200 in the roof replacement. So
Okay.
now you're down to 250. So whenever you take what we're talking about in engineering, we've already spent $5,700 with DLZ. I don't have any clue what RAI is going to charge us. I haven't seen a bill yet from them. You have $99,500 from Thomas Plastics, and you have another $67,000 out of $250,000. So when you do the math on that, I don't think you're gonna have more than, well, out of 250 minus 99.5,
that.
you're down to 150,000.
Well, but the way, the original allocation of $200,000 for the original roof was correct, but then but Teresa came back and allocated, was it not a total of 450?
She advertised for ARPA fund disbursements, but that did not mean it was one project.
I get that.
Yes, it was the
Anyway,
one, yes.
It's
yes.
apples and oranges. Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, I haven't been in on a whole lot of this. But there's concerns I have, is this going to pay for the curbs? We're going to need, look to me like we need new curbs over here, especially on this side.
Yeah, they're, sorry.
Okay, no, that's good. And on this side, I have concerns that there's still going to be vehicles pulling up on the curb and parking on the sidewalk. On
Where?
this side.
I've
north
actually
side.
called WMPI and told them not to park the van on the sidewalk.
And I've talked to them too, and it's, in the past, I haven't recently, but it seemed like it'll continue. It has in the past when they've been told. But regardless of that, I was also, my biggest concern, I want to make sure handicapped people, that's the biggest concern I have with handicapped.
Yes.
Parking. And she could tell us what's legal and isn't legal on that part of it. But the other thing I'd like to consider doing is $65,000. I would like, if we're gonna do it something similar to what we've done all the way around the square the city has. Cause I've had people on the trees wanna plant a tree for a family member or this or that. So I would like to consider, instead of $65,000 out of ARPA, make a public donation fund like they've done on the square, on the bricks, and set up a place where people could buy a brick and pay for this and pay it. And, one gentleman said, my dad's name's on the monument. I'd like to put something in his name. I want to plant a tree in his name. We're only going to talk 4 trees probably here, so we can only make 4 people happy. But if we did this sidewalk, something similar to what was done around the square, we could have a lot of people buy bricks in honor of their family or their name or wherever they want to go, our whole courtyard, and it would complement it. So, I mean, I've had trouble wrapping myself around this, to be honest with you guys. I started out kind of against it, mostly because I haven't figured out why we're doing it. But if we're going to do it, I think we can make it a community event.
Well, on the bricks,
Mhm.
I think we was going to take, like up here in the front,
Yeah.
You can't dig down deep enough to put in the same sidewalk like you can around the rest of the courthouse because of the tree and the roots and all that stuff. We don't wanna kill the tree. So we was talking about doing brick in that section. So there could be the section for your brick. And then at one time, we also talked about doing a brick path over from the concrete sidewalk to the War Memorial. Doing the same thing with the names of people.
Well, before we vote to 65,000, I'd like to look at,
I don't,
Actually,
well, I don't
voted
think we
on
can
it.
even vote on the 65,000 because I'm not sure that quote's any good anymore.
so we're just voting tonight just to take it, whatever it's gonna be out of
To use
ARP.
ARPA, we're just voting to take,
To use our
to use ARPA, yeah, ARPA funds,
We voted on this.
pay for a site.
Well, I think we could pay for the 65,000 out of donations.
I don't think so.
I did the whole square that way.
Yeah, but that was back in a different era. We don't live in that
I
era
think it was a
anymore.
good thing.
It is a good thing, but you're not gonna get people to do that.
Oh, I don't agree, but that's okay, we can all disagree or
Well, they
agree.
can bring 65,000 back and we'll put it back in the till, but
Well,
I just don't think.
I would prefer to do that
And
before
we're,
we,
and another thing with
Well-
that, if we do that, then you're talking another year of waiting for everybody to throw their donation in. And the reasoning, and you asked, I don't know what the reasoning is for the sidewalk, and it's, if you walk around the square now, the cars are bigger than they used to be, and the trucks are bigger than they used to be, and they're parking out, and people have to get out of their vehicle and walk to the road, and walk down the road to get to the sidewalk. And my thought was always that you get out of your car and you walk to the front of your car and you get on a sidewalk and you're out of the roadway. Somebody's gonna get run over.
I'm not
And,
so much against this, as I just think we could do it better. And I get the point, although I will say, I've never known of anybody to fall down in the grass and get hurt. Maybe they have, I haven't known of it, and I haven't seen anybody get hurt on the road. But that's not to say they won't. I'm just saying, I think we could make this a community event and do what we want and make the handicap parking better.
Well, I've
And it
already
would
talked-
beautify our courtyard better, I
talked to
think, than just a concrete thing.
I have talked to the mayor about the additional handicap spots, cause technically if you step off the curb, it's city property. He's more than willing to open up and allow us to make more
Yeah.
handicap spots, so.
I'm for all that, I'm just different on the way we pay for it
Well,
monthly.
I mean-
And actually, I'm not too sure this side over here is, and you're right about longer vehicles. And they're gonna, I mean, if we're asking them not to get on our property, which I agree with, they're gonna be about a foot more back out that way. And I think we need to resolve that issue of how we're gonna park people. And I've thought of different ways, none of them are really good. I've thought of a couple spots there where they could park long ways rather than angles. And I've even thought about the possibility of, and this is something that would hurt me to do it, but moving that whole thing in a foot or two, that whole side over there. But I agree, we need to get people off the road. But I just think this is a better way of doing it. I think we could make the community involved in it. It's worked in the past. I think it would beautify our courtyard better. Just my opinion, so I'm just throwing out what I
I
think.
guess I don't understand why we couldn't go ahead and do it and get the safety and make it safe for everybody.
Be-
And then get the community involved. and
Well,
have
because
pay
the
for it
bricks,
later
it's
and-
already down by that time. If we're gonna wait,
You can
the
leave an
public
area.
buys the bricks ahead of time.
But you can leave an area for the bricks.
I think we
Yeah.
could do the whole thing that way.
You're talking about putting brick all the way around the courtyard?
Heck, yeah, why
There
not?
ain't no way.
Why not? They did the whole square that way.
Yeah, but you're talking about.
I think it's worth a try, let's say that.
Well,
That's my opinion. And we can all have opinions, I know how that is. But I think we can, I'm trying to actually cooperate on this. I wanna agree with you guys. I just don't think the 65,000, just to throw money out real quick is the answer.
well, you
I think we
voted
can do it
on,
better.
you voted at another meeting to do it.
I
so-
did, and I can change my vote.
Oh, well, I mean, if it went to the council, it was already been done, so.
Yeah.
But it-
I just think.
I'm
this-
just giving you my thoughts. I'm not
I
trying to
get
be
that.
disruptive.
My,
I'm not
my
either.
thoughts is that that's not a bad idea, other than the fact that this is actually, we're doing this for a safety issue. And to drag it out for 2 or 3 years to try to accumulate enough money to pay for a sidewalk. I think we could just go ahead and pay for the sidewalk and then do that in reverse. We could be reimbursed for it the same as we could.
How many roofs are you talking about?
Well, you know, I don't have those numbers. You'd have to have somebody who could give you better than me. But like I said, the whole square sidewalk is that way. And you can walk around, if I do it, sometimes I'm just looking down, seeing who donated it.
Let me, I understand what you're saying, because you're thinking if it's already down, then it's too late to do anything but brick. But you could have somebody come back through and sandblast their name into the sidewalk. Looks very nice. So it's not as labor intensive. It's quicker. It takes care of the safety aspect.
All I'm asking, let's put this off a couple of weeks, explore, talk to some people that's done it.
You know?
But if we get,
I don't really wanna do that, so we've already been down that rabbit hole. I mean, we've already voted on it once to do exactly what we're talking about when we opened the quotes that night, so.
Well, I would like to go ahead and bring it to the vote to see about taking the money from ARPA funds to pay for the sidewalk. So,
Randy entertains a motion to take ARPA money at, what is it, it was 67 something, wasn't it? That, the amount, or the lowest quote?
I think so. At this point, I would
Anyway.
probably say 70,
70.
up to 70.
Not to exceed $70,000 to put sidewalks and fix the curbs and, so Randy makes a is that the motion?
Yeah.
could we vote, have we put somebody to do it yet, or it's not?
Yeah, there's
Who was gonna do it?
I can't remember.
It's been so long now, I don't even know what the quote
Yeah.
was, or the company was. It was a local person.
What I remember from the April minutes was that the project was tabled until other costs would be considered for the emergency on the roof, because that had just happened. I mean, April 20th, I think, was when you guys were told about the roof, and then we had a meeting right after that. And then again, I was not here. at the
Well,
beginning of May. So, and you
That's,
guys,
I know what the minutes probably say, but I know what was said in the meeting, and I don't wanna disagree with anybody, but I walked away from the meeting assuming that we made a vote and it was adding it into the 450. So
It's irrelevant now.
it's irrelevant. So Randy makes a motion to send it to the council next week so that they can appropriate the money or not. And,
it
John,
has been advertised, because it was advertised for council's consideration next, in anticipation of it.
John,
No. I think we
I'll
could do it, I think
second
we could
that.
do it better.
I'll second that. So we have to vote, or, so since there was 2-1, go ahead and, Randy, what's your vote?
I vote to do it.
All right, John?
Nay.
I'll vote in affirmative, so that's it. Mr. Attorney,
I don't have any comments at this time.
I do have a couple, well, first of all, John, go ahead, you got anything?
No.
Randy, you got anything? No. I do have 2 things, and that's something that, it's came to my attention, and I guess I can talk about that, those letters we're gonna send, just in reference so everybody knows they're coming.
You could, yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna open that. Anyway, there's our attorney's gonna send a couple letters out to Tammy for Tammy's distribution to all county employees and county, I guess, departments. First of all, one of them is gonna be about county property, how you dispose of county property, how you, you know,
If you'd like me to discuss it.
go ahead.
Yeah. So there'll be a letter going out relative to use of county property, specifically, email systems. well, including email systems, I apologize, but, just, you know, that county property should be used for county business, not personal. There will be another letter going out dealing with, the maintenance, repair, of county property that is entrusted to county employees, and that in the event that something was damaged, you know, that what our policies are as adopted in the personnel policy handbook about reporting that to the department head, and for the department heads to consider bringing that before this board. In addition, it deals specifically with dispossession or transference of property, including property that may be objectively outdated or in need of repair or whatever, but the idea that that's still county property, and that the transference of that property to even entities, separate political subdivisions of the state of Indiana or other governmental bodies. That all still needs to come before the Board of Commissioners to determine whether or not, first off, that property should be transferred, gifted, sold, or otherwise. Second off, what are the appropriate mechanisms depending on who is to receive that, because there are different requirements. If it's going to be a fire protection service, a nonprofit, or another entity, there are different requirements for those things. So just with those considerations in mind, again, just a reminder.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
No, I'd like to thank the city for using their stump grinders over here to
Exactly.
clear our stumps out.
Yes,
That we're waiting for a report.
much appreciated.
All right. Nothing else, I'll entertain.
I'm sorry, let me jump back in one more time. We have one more tree that I
Yes.
think needs to be come down. We've had a look, I'm not too sure, you know trees. I think that one's kinda hollowed, from what I understand, and could
On
be
the one
fairly
back here?
dangerous. I've talked to Kevin about it, I think them or the city or anyone could take it down, but it's hanging over some wires and this and that, it would probably take a little bit of specialty. So we're gonna have to do it from everything I've understood, so we might wanna look at getting, unless we think our local people can do it, we might wanna look at, having somebody bid that over to, only got 2 people in the county, see what they'd take that thing down. And, I don't like spending money, but if this one's dangerous, I think it might be. I mean, I don't want it collapsing on our local guys, just to try to save a buck.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Tammy?
Just a quick touch back with the ARPA uses. You guys had asked me to look at some figures. This is pretty rough, just off the best guesstimate. Averaged, had Trina go back and pull the first 13 payrolls of 22, so I could take that times 2. So we averaged those, and took that times 2%. So to fund roughly, and that is the total I had her use was the one with the benefit calculation in it, where you pay the FICA and the 457 match and whatnot. It looks like it would be roughly $161,000 to fund across the board 2% raise to the payroll distributions as they are currently being paid, okay?
So a 2% raise.
Would cost ARPA fund roughly $161,000.
So we double that if it's a 4%.
Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you what I've just kind of rough cut in, so you guys can be thinking now you're in a ballpark.
That'd be for next year.
That would be whatever you
We
guys
could do it
choose.
So, I
anytime.
mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, you could, we talked earlier, you know, at times, I mean, if you wanted to give what you call a bonus, don't match the 457, give everybody 2% of their normal annual salary as a bonus in 22, that's not subject probably to PERF or your workers' comp or anything, just to, and then if you guys decided to think that's a good idea and, help fund an actual raise or another bonus in 23, again, that's your all's pleasure. I just wanted to tell you what you'd asked me to kind of
And
get
that
an
was kind of
idea.
my fault too, to let them have something for this year and then, after the
Because there's a
council.
lot of budget concerns right now. I don't want to scare council and the taxpayers to pieces if we're trying to, you know, But we are in a very, it's like that all over the world, and we're part of the world, we're an employer. You know, we are an employer, and we do have people that we're responsible for. And, it'd be great if we could work everybody for $10 an hour and make the taxpayers happy as little clams, and they make $30 an hour. Does that make sense? And, but we all are taxpayers ourselves that work here, and we pay lit tax just like everybody else. So that's kind of where you guys gotta, you have to sometimes think, okay, we're an employer too, and we're competitive, and we lose, and counties are experiencing, you know, shortfalls in their workforces because we can't compete with cities and other units that are, you know, and we only get 35 hours most of the time in most of our occupations here that aren't emergency, you know, departments. So we're again held back. We have to work 5 hours extra just for even an overtime, and we get comp time for that, which, you know, so there's no extra compensation, no way to make extra money. If you are a clerical person in county government, you will not make a dime more than what your salary is for the whole year at 35 hours a week.
I think the smartest thing for me to do is just turn that over to council and let them decide everything.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I would kinda like to give them something.
Divide it by 7 heads instead of
Well,
35.
They
It's their
did,
decision to do whatever.
they didn't get any raise this year, correct?
Correct.
I would be for giving them some kind of bonus this year, whatever that may be, and then I would vote on next year, but I'd like to see what the council's gonna do first.
Yes.
And, we could add to it or not, or whatever, if, they may not get anything,
Right.
but
But at least you would have given them a one-time shot in the arm
I would be for
of
that.
appreciation.
Their budget meeting is,
They begin on, next Tuesday, but that's just the rough edge, just
well,
snapshot
we
version.
would know what council's.
But by November, the first part of
Program
November,
is.
you would know whether they were able to incorporate any additional raises for the employees at that point.
Also, just one last thing, the State Board of Accounts is in town, have been for a few weeks now doing their annual audit, so
Are they still here?
FYI, yeah, I think so.
Oh, they'll be here till about, what, the 1st of
August.
September, I
Yeah, they
think?
said that it would end on the end of August, so. Anyway, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
John makes a motion.
I'll
Randy,
second.
Randy seconds, that'll make it unanimous.